Hello and welcome to Courtside with the Ashland University women's basketball team. Brought to you by the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department. I'm Miles Irvin. I'm joined by Associate Head Coach Jenna Kotas. Coach, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Miles.
To jump right into it, you guys picked up a couple of big-time victories last week. First on Thursday against the Malone Pioneers, who had been in first place in the GMAC all season long. What was your guys' mindset going into that game?
Yeah, I think everyone in the Ashland community knew how much of a big game it was. From the coaches to the fans to the players. At that point in time, we were sitting in second place in the GMAC behind Malone. And playing at Malone is probably one of the hardest gyms to play in. But Eagle Nation showed out for that game. I think we had close to 1,000 fans for that game. But prior to that game, it was just another game. Every game that we're going to play up until hopefully the national championship game is going to be a big game. So we're just trying to focus on ourselves and obviously beat Malone, and that's what we did on Thursday.
Absolutely. And you guys got it done on the defensive end, only allowing 15 points in the entire first half. What stood out to you on that end early to get that separation?
Yeah, our defense from game one has been our MO. When our shots aren't falling, we rely heavily on our defense, and that's starting from our 1 through our 5 who starts for us. And I think from the start of that game, everyone continued to show out. And it started with our defensive disciplines being on the ball line, limiting them to one-and-done situations, eliminating their best players for going off, especially to start that first quarter. So it was nice to see whoever was out on that court, those 5 were getting it done on the defensive end.
Absolutely. Now moving on to Saturday afternoon, a 75-51 win at Cedarville, where Lydia Sweeney had spent her career before joining you guys here at Ashland. What did you think of her performance from that game?
Yeah, I think every game Lydia is going to give it her all, and I know that coming back to Cedarville after spending 4 years at a school, it kind of means something to her, and there's maybe some butterflies that came into her starting that game, but she handled that, I guess you can say, pressure really, really well. Once she started off on that court, she took some great shots, defended very well, and anything that we throw at Lydia's way, she's going to handle it very, very well. And I was glad that we came out with a big win, stepping back to what used to be her home for 4 years.
For sure. Well, you guys were able to win both of those games despite turning the ball over 20 times. Obviously something that could get better going forward, but how important is it to be able to win these types of games even when the ball may not bounce your way?
Yeah, it's huge. I think I just said it earlier when we were talking about the Malone game, that every game that we play is a huge game to win. And winning is hard, no matter if you're on the road or at home. Getting a win against some very, very top quality teams, it's huge. It's huge for GMAC standings. It's huge for our regional standings. So every time that we step onto the court, we know that we're going to get battle tested for the team that we're playing. And going back to those turnovers, we're adding some new things offensively to our girls in practice to prepare for some games. So, of course, there's going to be a few turnovers just because of the new things that we're adding. So, of course, we're going to take that. But hopefully with the practice that we've been throwing in at practice, those turnovers are going to decrease by every game that we play.
Absolutely. Well, in that Cedarville game, besides the turnovers, you guys did play very well offensively. You had 5 players who had at least 3 assists. So what have you thought of the offensive execution from your team, even with these new wrinkles you've added to the offense?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm glad to see the ball go through the hoop. I know for a handful of games that we haven't had our best offensive games as far as putting the ball in the bucket, but I believe the past couple games we've been shooting in the high 50s, high 40s, getting to the free throw line, hitting some 3-point shots. And the best thing about it, it's coming from different players as well. You're not focused on 1 or 2 kids that are on the court. You got to focus on every single girl that is on the court, because they can put the ball in so many different ways. And with the wrinkles that we're putting in our main offense, it's an offense that leads to a lot of assists, and I'm glad to see that there are a lot of girls getting assists but also getting buckets as well.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We will soon be joined by guard Morgan Yoder to discuss her senior season. But for now, it's time for us to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Courtside right here on AUTV. Welcome back to Courtside, right here on AUTV. I'm now pleased to be joined by senior guard Morgan Yoder. Morgan, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Miles.
First things first, what was your mindset coming into your senior season here at Ashland?
Yeah, I think coming into the senior season, the goals remain the same for our team. Our mission statement's really obvious with what we want for the season. We're on a relentless pursuit to be the best Division II men's basketball team in the country, which is winning a national championship and then making a positive impact on the community. So after last season, the loss in the regionals, puts a little fire under us to be reaching towards that goal with everything that we have. And so coming into the season, making sure this summer we were working hard and as a leader, encouraging, holding our team accountable to be doing the same.
Absolutely. Well, on the court this season, you've provided steady consistency as both a playmaker and a three-point shooter. What has allowed you to play so efficiently this year?
I think a lot of that has just come from the experience of getting to play in the program for a few years now. Really understanding the offense and building that relationship with the coaches. They've continued to instill a lot of trust and confidence in me, and I think that's allowed me to play a lot more free this year.
And then this year, we've also seen your two-point game develop a lot with more drives and mid-range shots. How have you been able to grow into a more diverse offensive player this year?
Again, credit to the coaches. Coach Jay and Coach Nat, our two guard coaches, have helped me continue to grow my game. And they've always told me that I can score all three levels. I don't know if I really believe that. But as we've continued to work out, get shots up, and practice, they've just continued to, again, instill that belief in me, and it's helped me a ton in just having confidence in myself there.
On this team, you're one of the few players who did play on the 2023 national championship team. So how has that experience been able to help you as one of the leaders on this current team that has similar potential?
Yeah, I think being a part of that team, you learn so much of what a great team looks like and how they interact with each other. Being a leader on this team, it's just helped me to remind us of where we're going, what our goals are, taking it one day at a time, and just knowing that we're working towards a relentless pursuit to win that national championship. And so holding each other accountable is one of the biggest things in practice, in games, and then having a ton of joy and fun while we're out there. When we're doing that, we're playing our best.
For sure. And finally, you guys have been on a roll over the last month or so on a 16-game winning streak. How do you feel the team is at right now as we come up on the end of the regular season?
Yeah, I feel like we're coming up at the right point, making sure that we're offensively, I feel like pieces are clicking. We're really looking like we're hitting shots, we're getting assists. All of those things are really coming together at the right time, which is exciting for our team. And knowing that we even have more to go, we have so much more potential that we can reach, and that's exciting knowing that that's coming towards the end of the season when tournaments are coming up.
Absolutely. Well, Morgan, thanks for coming on the show, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks for having me, Miles.
When we come back from this quick break, Coach Kotas will return to close out the show, so don't go anywhere. You're watching Courtside right here on AUTV. Welcome back to Courtside, right here on AUTV. Coach, it's time for the final segment of today's show. Before we dive into the upcoming schedule, let's take a quick look at the standings for the Great Midwest Athletic Conference. With that win last week at Malone, you guys are now at the top of the conference, which means you would host the GMAC tournament at the start of March. What do you guys need to do to make sure you stay in first place?
I think the most obvious answer is win. But with winning comes a lot of other things that you got to do before you step on the court. And I think the biggest thing right now is just to stay mentally and physically sharp. I do think we have a lot of kids that are logging in a good amount of minutes, so making sure that those bodies are staying fresh. So when they're able to play in these big time games coming up, especially with playoffs, they're able to play those big time minutes. And staying mentally strong as well. Like I said earlier, we're adding some wrinkles both to our offense and our defense as well. But then just keeping our eyes on the prize. Like, yeah, we got to take one game at a time, but playing up and coming teams is going to lead us to the playoffs in March and hopefully get us to games in Pittsburgh for the Elite Eight Final Four national championship game.
Absolutely. Well, now let's take a look at the rest of the regular season schedule for you guys. With Malone now coming here to Ashland on Thursday, what should fans expect to see from both teams?
I think you're going to see two quality teams go up against each other, almost like a GMAC championship game like we saw last Thursday. Malone, ever since they played us, has had a tough couple games. They had to play us, and they had to play Findlay. They just played Walsh last night and then have to come to us on Thursday. So it's a little revenge game for them. They want to make sure that they're not losing that 1 seed. So I do think it's going to be a top quality game against the two teams in the GMAC right now. So yeah, we're really excited for a lot of fans to be in the stands at Kates. I feel like we haven't played there in a couple weeks. So like I said, I think it's going to be a championship-worthy game tomorrow versus Malone.
Absolutely, super excited. After that game, you guys traveled to Tiffin to take on the Dragons on Saturday, a team that is at the opposite end of the standings. Those games can often be looked at trap games for some teams. How do you guys make sure to stay focused on the task at hand?
Yeah, I think I said it earlier. We got our eyes on a little bit bigger of a prize. It's winning the regular season GMAC, the GMAC tournament, and also hopefully getting to play in Pittsburgh. And Tiffin's won some big-time games, so I'm going to give them credit. And playing at Tiffin, it's no joke. If you ever been to Tiffin, their gym is it's bright green with a big dragon all around. Very, very tough place to play. And like you said, it could be a trap game. So, again, we just got to make sure that when we go play first Malone and then at Tiffin, we're handling Tiffin like it's a play for first place type of game. So we're giving Tiffin all the credit. They're a very, very young team, but those freshmen and sophomores that they have something to prove, and nothing more would make their season than trying to beat us on their home court.
For sure. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining me today, and good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miles.
As a reminder, be sure to tune in to 88.9 WRDL for full live game coverage of Ashland University versus the Malone Pioneers, with tip-off set for 5:30 p.m. I'm Miles Irvin saying thank you so much for tuning into Courtside right here on AUTV.